Okay, next up. What games or systems do you have the most duplicates of? Now, that's a funny question. One of the main things that I get when I show my, when people watch my room tour is, wow, you have a lot of PlayStation 1s. So, I mean, in my cabinet over there, let's see, the big, gray, bulky style, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 just right there, not including ones that I have in the box, plus 3 of the mini PS1s on top of that. And the reason for that is there's actually 2 main reasons for that. One is because PlayStations, first of all, aren't really worth anything. I mean, people would much rather get a PlayStation 2, which can play PlayStation 1 games and DVDs and do all that stuff anyway. But the main reason I have so many PlayStation, and so because of that, they're not very tradable or anything, so there's not really point on me getting rid of them if they do somehow make their way into my possession. But the main point I have so many on the shelf there is because there were actually a lot of different versions of the PlayStation 1. Now, they're very minor differences. But just for fun, I've always kept them on the shelf there. Like, there's one version of the PS1 that has the red, yellow, white plugs on the back. Instead of using the normal kind of AV plug, you can, plug your cords into that instead. And then there was a version that had an expansion port on the back, and all the other normal ports. And then there was a version that removed that expansion port and kept the other ports on the back. So I have all those different versions there. I have a European version, and one of them is modded. So I mean, I have a whole bunch of different kind of PlayStation 1s there. So it's not like they're all the same stacked up. There actually are, differences between them, and that is why they are all on the shelf. Although despite the fact that there are so many PS1s there, the most plentiful console in my collection is very likely the NES, because there were just so many sets of that. There was, there was the Power set with the Power Pad. There was the Deluxe set with Rob. There was the Challenge set with Super Mario Brothers 3. There was, the set that came with nothing, but then there was the set that came with Mario Brothers 1. And then, of course, the Action set, which had both the gray Zapper and orange Zapper variants. So, I mean, I have all of those complete in the box. Plus, I have an NES hooked up here. I mean, if you include, the top loader NES into all of that, and I have an NES upstairs. I love the NES. I have tons of different, boxed versions of it. So, despite the fact I have so many PS1s on the shelf, NES is probably the console that I actually have the most of. And as far as which game do I have the most duplicate of, it should come as no surprise to someone that the answer to that question is probably Star Tropics. Now, this actually isn't even all of my copies of it right here. I mean, yeah, like, a few different copies. Also, I try to get as many copies of the letter as I can. Like, here we have the instruction book with the letter still attached to it, which is really cool. Let me show you right here. I had, here's these 5 copies, although if I reach to my left, I didn't want to get it mixed up with these ones. I have the original copy from when I was a kid. I mean, I don't want to lose my awesome save data. Not that I ever plan on getting rid of any of these. I mean, I hoard copies of Star Tropics because sometimes I'll buy a lot of video games off of a person, or I'll even find it, like really cheap somewhere, and I'll just pick it up because no one else really wants Star Tropics. It's a very, very, very inexpensive game, and I love it so much that I don't mind having a few copies of it lying around in case of a Star Tropics emergency. Also, I have my box, this is one of my boxed copies of Star Tropics. There's another boxed copy back there. And what I've actually done is on some of them, that's my original copy, so all of the files are complete. And instead of erasing a file on that, I'll pull out another copy of Star Tropics and beat all the files on that, and then move on to the next cartridge. So I have a whole bunch of files on all of these cartridges that are complete. And that's just because I have played Star Tropics so much. It is, one of the oldest games I have ever played. When I was born, my parents, I've already said this many times, already had an NES. And the games that they had when I was born were Mario 1, 2, 3, Mega Man 2, Star Tropics, 1943, The Battle of Midway, NASCAR Racing, Bart vs. the Space Mutants, Pac-Man, and Pinbot. And I don't think I'm forgetting any, Andrew. I'm pretty sure that's all of them. That should be all of them. I think they're... Oh, and they had a Game Genie as well. My parents, cheated the heck out of the games. And I'm like, no! I was 2 years old. I'm like, that's not the way to play video games. I was grab the controller, beat Mega Man 2 for them. Basically, I mean, those are the games I grew up with. So, I mean, I think that my love of, arcade shooters definitely came from the fact that I grew up with 1943, and, some people today would probably pick that up. I think it's a ridiculously difficult game, but, I mean, I grew up with that, so that's why I've gained that skill. But basically, Star Tropics is one of the games I played most as a kid. I don't have memory, unfortunately, of what the very first game I ever played was, because I was just too young. I mean, people, you know, they have, like, say that I have my first gaming memory when I was 6 years old or something like that. But because my parents had the NES when I was born, I could have been who knows how old when I played my first game. But it might have been Star Tropics. It might have been Mario 3. It might have been NASCAR Racing, but I don't think it would have been NASCAR Racing. It would have been something that my mom played. Oh, and Tetris! I forgot Tetris. How did I forget Tetris? Yeah, my dad loved NASCAR, Pinbot, and Tetris, and Pac-Man a bit too. So those were his games that he played a lot. And then my mom played all the Marios and Mega Man and Star Tropics. But yeah, and I guess Bart versus the Space Mutants was both of theirs as well. But yeah, so those are games I grew up with, those are games I have a lot of doubles of, and it's shenanigans. And the next question kind of ties into that. What's the one game in your collection that you've put the most time into since you have been gaming? And again, I grew up with Star Tropics, I've beat it so many times, but is it the game I've played the most? I mean, I've played a ton of Super Mario World, and I've played a ton of a lot of other games as well. So I can't really say for sure. I wish that there was some way of knowing how long you have spent doing things in life. Like, like sometimes in the video game when you die and it will show like the stats on the screen, like this is how long you survived before you died. Well, like maybe in like real life, when you die, whenever that may be, I hope there's like a stat screen that shows, this is how much time you wasted playing Mario 1. And this is how much time you wasted playing Mario 2 when you could have been, finding the cure for cancer. But like I hope that, I would love to know just how much time I have spent playing some games, although unfortunately that's a question I can't give, a definite answer on. Let's see here. Next question. Do you watch any game hunting videos on YouTube? I don't unfortunately have the chance to watch as many videos as I wish I could. And the majority of the videos that I watch aren't game hunting. It's mostly, I watch some Let's Play videos, like I watch, my good friends, Teal Game Master, Miles Luigi, Raocow. It was actually the very first YouTuber I ever watched, and I think some of his ridiculousness kind of transferred over into me and inspired my ridiculousness, so if you have any, issues with how nuts I am sometimes, you can go yell at him for that. So I mean, I watch people like that. People like Michael B. the Game Genie and Ed T1138. I watch them and their pick-up videos, and that's almost as far as I go, as far as game collecting stuff goes. I don't watch as much of it as I would like to, because there's just not enough time in the day, unfortunately, for me to watch nothing but YouTube videos when I have to make my own, and then there's games I want to play, and then I'm dealing with, school or work or whatever's going on at the time, so unfortunately that's the way that works. Let's see, what have we got up here? Are there any videos that you have deleted or accidentally lost during the move from channel to channel? Now, about that, as people might know, I talked a little while ago about, what's it called? I had to move from one channel to another when I joined the partnership, and actually a whole bunch of crazy things have happened with the partnership since then. I'm actually with a completely different network now from what I was, because things weren't going well, and people probably haven't even noticed because, who even notices these things? But when I made the transfer, there were a few videos that I did not bring over because I didn't think they were very good quality, and those were mostly responses to Ed T1138's Top 3 Tuesday videos, where, like, things I made way back in the beginning, they would have been like, my within like the first 50 or so videos that I made, when now I'm almost at 500 videos. And, they were kind of not great quality, and, no one would have missed them if they were missing. It's not like if I had left out a random game of the day, it would have jumped from like, 20 to 22. No one would have realized that these videos were gone. So I didn't bring them over just because I kind of, and also the answers were no longer relevant. It would have been like, what games are you playing a lot of at the moment? So I didn't bother bringing over, videos like that. But otherwise, all the random game of the day videos thankfully made it. All of the display videos thankfully made it. Some of them did look kind of weird though. Like some of my display videos now have gigantic black bars on the top and bottom, which they didn't before they were transferred over. I might have to look into fixing that. But overall, that is the answer to that question. Also, there's still a few more questions to go, but my battery is about to die, so expect a really bizarre cut here, and I mean, yeah. Sorry about that. This video went on for way longer than I was expecting it to, and the battery on this thing sucks, so I should always just plug it in before I start filming. But again, it went on for longer than I was expecting it to. But we have, it looks like, 3 pieces of paper remaining. So let us finish up these extremely exciting questions, but I hope people are, enjoying the answers to these. And again, as I said, if you ever have any more questions, please just feel free to ask them down below. But next up, do you own Flintstones Surprise at Dinosaur Peak on the NES? It's a very rare game. Unfortunately, I do not. Now, people will know my NES collection is getting very close to completion. Although, it is the rarer games like that, which I do not actually have my hands on. What I will do is I will post the list of NES games that I am still missing in the description of this video. And if you have anything on that list, let me know, and we can potentially work out a trade. Because I would definitely, very much like to get my hands on as many NES games as possible, and try and complete that. Because I'm only about 50 away, so the better, closer I can get to that, the better. So again, check out that list if you have any double NES games or things you're willing to trade or things like that, and maybe we can work out a deal. Anyway, next up, these two questions kind of go hand in hand. As a collector, what is your opinion on the future? And do you think that next generation, in brackets PS5, is going to be digital only? Now, this is interesting. What is my opinion on the future? Oh. My honest opinion is I'm not a really big fan of, digital distribution. I love going over to the store and, buying a game and bringing it home and having the instruction manual, having the case on the shelf and things like that. I know that not everyone is like that, but that's something that I personally really enjoy, obviously, as you can probably see from, this room. But overall, what do I think of the future? So far, I don't even really know what to think of this generation, to be completely honest. I know people who got the PS4 and are regretting it now because there's not any games for it that they're particularly enjoying. Like, I actually had a friend who was like, "Come on, Andrew, come and get the PS4 day one with me." I'm like, "No, there's not really any games that I'm interested in playing this close to launch, so it would be better off for me to, wait it out a bit until some games that I really want are out, and then by that time there might be a bundle or a price drop." Actually, it's funny because in Canada, the PS4 went up 50 bucks rather than dropping, so that was kind of a pain. But I don't plan to get it in the near future anyway. But the point is, next generation, like, I don't really care much for next generation. I was actually really happy with last generation. I really liked the PS3. The Wii was okay. I actually quite like the Wii U now that it has some pretty cool games like Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze and Wind Waker HD. I've really been enjoying the Wii U, but then you get all these people who bash the Wii U because it doesn't have anything that they really want, despite the fact that I would object and say that the Wii U deck is getting like a fairly decent library now, unlike what the PS4 and Xbox One have at the moment. But again, that's all just opinion. But about the future, what will happen with future consoles? Like, will there be a next gen of consoles? Because the upgrades between consoles, maybe I'm just wrong or completely oblivious, but the upgrades don't mean as much as they obviously used to. It's not like the jump from 8-bit to 16-bit, the jump from 16-bit to 64-bit. Now you're just upgrading. It seems more minimal. I'm sure there's all this hardware stuff that makes it this much more powerful, but to me, it just doesn't look like that big of a jump as it used to be. I'm super happy with PlayStation 3's graphics on my HD TV. I always used to say, I had a Wii, and I'm like, I don't understand all this hype about HD TV. I'm perfectly fine with my, my old analog TVs. And then I got an HD TV with my PS3, and I was like, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever looked at. But now, the upgrade from that, I'm more focused on the games and the graphics like I've always been. So, these new jumps in consoles, especially because they're throwing in all these features, like everything has to, the PS4, game consoles aren't just game consoles anymore. They have to include all of this extra stuff, which I don't have any interest in whatsoever. So, it's like, I don't really know where the future of video games is going, and what the next generation will be like. If there is a next generation, which I'm sure there will be, because for as long as companies think that they can sell consoles and make money, they will do it. And the question is, how long into the future will they be able to do that? And I think that's why they're introducing all these new media features into these things, because they think that people might not just buy something that's a pure gaming console and might move to computer. So I don't know. It's really, really hard for me to say what I think is going to happen into the future, considering even this generation, I'm still really confused. Like, I don't know a single person who owns an Xbox One. I know one person who owns a PS4, and that person's not even really impressed with the PS4. So like, what does that make me think about the future? Like, it's really kind of debatable. And, I mean, I don't really know what I think needs to change. I mean, for me, what I look for in a video game and a video game console is definitely different from what a lot of people look for. You know, I'm very simple, and I liked back in the day when you flipped the switch on the NES and it was like, bam, there's your title screen. But I mean, now, like I said, there's all these new features and things. And will the next consoles be just digital, or will they still always have that copy that's sold in the store? Like, it's just... It's something I've thought about a lot, but yeah, I still can't give, a good answer on. Because it's just, I have no idea what's going on. It's really, 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 really weird. And the future of video games, it's going to be interesting to watch. I think it's going to be interesting to watch. I don't think that Nintendo is going anywhere. Because, I mean, Nintendo, video games is all they have. But as far as Sony and Microsoft go, I have no idea what they're going to be up to. And it seems like, it's almost like the CDI in a way. Where the CDI was really one of the very first consoles that was, a movie player, a music player, and a game player. So it's almost like the more modern consoles are doing what the CDI did, except better. But, they're not just being game consoles, but they're being everything. And I think that's what they feel they need to do to move into the future. I don't know, I'm just rambling now. What do I think should happen? I love game consoles. I will always be a console gamer over a PC gamer. But I'm not sure what will happen into the future, because these upgrades, they're not as big as they used to be. I mean, I guess the next step is the next console will support virtual reality or something. That's probably what's going to happen, because I don't think that, there's really much else for them to upgrade other than, add in new features. Like the Twitch stuff that's getting added in these days and things like that. So I don't know. I don't really know, unfortunately, what to say too much about what I think of the future. And I'm not going to ramble on about that anymore, because people are probably getting bored about that. But anyway, that's all the questions. So thank you so much to everyone who asked questions. I hope that those answers were satisfactory. If you'd like me to clear up anything that I said, or if you have a question that was asked, and I unfortunately forgot to include, or you didn't ask a question, and you would like to ask it now, comments below are your friend, and I will definitely try to respond to that, as I always do with any questions. Because, I always respond to people's questions anyway, but having those answers in video form, I suppose, was a good thing. Yeah, so, with that said, thank you very much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for your continued support. Over 6,000 subscribers at this point, considering this was supposed to be the 5,000 subscriber, kind of celebration thing. I really appreciate it. I mean, there's nothing makes me happier than, seeing those familiar faces in the comments of each video. Having like that kind of, dedicated, group of people who watch my videos when they go up. And the enjoyment that people clearly got out of Mario 3, which recently ended, that means a lot to me. So thank you so much again. Hope you enjoyed, and I hope that you continue to enjoy my videos into the future. So thanks, and see you later.